I'm hanging in there. It's keep checking my phone for Juan Soto news, but other than
I
that,
know, I know, I know.
well, it was funny. I We have the same problem because I've told people for years, I'm a Jets and a Mets fan. I don't Sports is not allowed to make me happy, but
No,
got a little bit of a tease this year, so we'll
I
see.
know,
It's certainly
I
picking up
know.
of
Could have
reminding.
never. What's so funny is we could have never predicted from the last time we talked what would have happened to the Jets. I think even in our most colossal, like pessimistic,
Oh yeah,
used to it, you know what I mean?
we I
Um,
we were.
Theories.
I was talking to my friend who was with me. I turned to her and I was like, "There's not a 0% chance Dylan's gonna watch the game with us later." Like I told him where the bar is. Like if he has nothing to do, I
Yeah,
come. Like it was
yeah. You know what's crazy is what you know what ended up happening where I ended up watching that.
hotel.
I hotel got so sick. I ended up like throwing up for like um 6 hours straight. I had like this like all of a sudden like 20-hour bug out of nowhere. So I was like writhing in like my bed watching the Jets get stomped by the Niners.
All of you had to meet a million people. Like, didn't you tell me? I think it was that Corey was like, "Yeah." Someone asked me how Toronto is. He's like, "I've seen this hotel. It's lovely. I've seen nothing else. I'm just talking to
Right.
people," which is like a
No,
good.
I know it's yeah,
But
well, and then you'll also be like they'll be like hey, we got to go to the Golden Globes thing tonight, and you're like, okay, great, where's that? And there's like the lobby of your hotel, and you're like, oh,
well, that was the funny part about the thing that we all did. I spoke to Matt about this and Gabe, and it's just you get marched into this lobby thing. Everyone's tired with a bunch of tired looking journalists, and they're like, "Okay,
yeah,
impressed." And just the funny part of like Lamorne going, "You two look easy. I think I'll talk to you." Or like when
that's
you
hilarious.
all of us, it's clearly like this is going to be the one I don't want to move. If I look like I'm
Yeah,
in conversation, no one will lead me.
yeah, yeah. I know the leading you around thing. I know. I have. It's interesting.
But it is definitely interesting to get introduced to 1,000 people a day, and you're like, most of them are going to say the exact same thing to me and think it was original, and it's nice.
Right,
Like that they like what I do, but
right.
you don't know what you want. Jason's here. It's his job to like converse with you. Like he'll make the rounds. He'll talk to.
Yeah,
But listen, how it's nice to have a thing you're proud of. First of all, that does help.
yeah, for sure.
I mean I've been singing this movie's praises since Telluride when Jason was like I played all my chips to write an SNL sketch. That's what I wanted to do, and like
Right.
it really turns into a movie. Like it's crazy how many people have to say yes, right, to just an idea in Jason's head, and then do the
Mhm.
job. And obviously, you all have the exact same story of why do you want me in this movie? I don't look like the person. I'm gonna fuck up your movie. Don't cast me in this movie.
Right, right.
It's but the fact that it turns out so well, and that everyone else
Right,
turns to you and goes, "You're doing so well." I can't believe
right.
is a real rare achievement. So like I know you talked about like your mom finding the one picture where you kind of looked like him, where like hands are covered
Yes,
stuff. But like
yes.
point in the shoot, are you starting to go, I think I've got this? Or is it like now?
Like, well, you're almost like out of survival mode. You got to get there at
Yeah.
some, you know what I mean? You got to get there quick and you got to get there in whatever way you can. So I guess for me on this, which is probably the most difficult journey that I've had to arrive at that place of confidence or at least of like belief. You know, you sort of need to believe. There's always like this sense of you need to believe in the thing. You need to believe like every day that like you're making it great. You know what I mean? Like you're making a great thing and it's working. It's like I totally believe in that. That you need to carry that energy with you each day. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think for this, it was like it was needing to really just again I mean focus on what I can control, right? And what I could control was sort of like being at least as prepared with like whatever my version of this guy that I'm like creating, you know, that's like evolving through my pores. I'm at least just gonna nail that. You know what I mean? And then it's not up to me in terms of like, you know what I mean? It's not like that stuff is ill informed. I'm doing my homework. Like I know the guy, I'm watching these interviews. I'm familiarizing myself with these very, sort of key mannerisms that I find to be like very, like essential to his kind of demeanor or his like his energy, right? And then I'm also like getting a lot of stories from like Jason and who knew him so well, so personally for so long. And so, it just all slowly started compiling into a version of a guy that I really connected with. And I was like, here are all the pieces of him that I feel like I've really got in me, you know? So these are the ones I'm going to embrace, highlight, and kind of execute, you
Right.
know? And you kind of just have to have faith in that, and you just buy in. You find some way in for yourself. You just buy in, you know?
Well, you have Jason telling you to like, don't. There's a point in which you'll have done too much, right? Don't feel the need to
Right.
an impression. No one here should be doing an impression. I wrote a version of this person that's not necessarily already this person. So don't feel the need to go too far there. Fine.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know that, and you know that there's a good chance you get on set and on day one he's gonna go a little too close, right? Just you can be you.
I honestly, this was something that really comforted me, because I sort of felt like even if I did the most dead on Dan impression that I could come up with, I don't know that anyone would tell you that it was a great impression. You know what I mean? So, um, I sort of like had once he framed it that way, once he was like, it was like he gathered us all there, and then he was like, actually, it's a trick. I don't want you guys to be like totally like them. I want them to be totally different colored versions that you bring to the table. I'm like, oh, great. I'm sort of in the best position because I don't like resemble my guy at all.
Hmm.
So I'm sort of starting from like the best place, you know. I couldn't even accidentally fall into like a super accurate Dan Aykroyd impression. Who could? You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
was like this. I was like, it certainly is going to be a version of him, and not him. So I'll at least have that. You know, whether or not it's a good version, I guess I won't be the judger of. But yeah, that was something that was comforting. His stance on that the whole time. You know.
well, I am the judge of that. Kind of my job, so I say it's good. Uh,
Sure. Well, I appreciate.
Also, it's what a support system, right? In terms of even throughout your career, like there I'm sure on every set there are times where you're like, this is great, can't believe I'm doing this, this is amazing, and there are times where you're like, oh boy, and sometimes there's
Yeah.
reason, like the first time, the one that I was so fond of years ago, is like you're so new at it that it's like I can't believe I'm doing this. Also, I don't know
Yeah.
that I'm doing, or
Right.
where it's just it's such a big production, right? Where you're just like I don't want to like fall into the background, but I also don't. I'm not necessarily meant
Hmm.
to be a star, or like there was,
Interesting.
oh, I am the star, and like there's a whole other bit of pressure on me that's nothing to do with if I'm good in the role. There's all this other stuff that like I that's
Interesting.
that, like I'm not trained for that, but like I'm gonna give it a shot.
Right.
Or like I think watching this, and it is such a like interestingly grounded performance. Everyone is that they are finding
Hmm.
humans. And maybe that's not exactly how Dan Aykroyd was. That's not how Jim Belushi was. But in this,
Right.
that's how that character was. And in the same year, I could watch you in Pony Boy and see like a real big performance, right? Where you're like, anything
Right.
felt like I can try out, I'm going to try out right now. And then,
Yeah.
have a director who'll tell me if it's too much. I think there's something about watching an actor get to do almost anything and try almost anything that is, one of the things I appreciate so much about you beyond how good you are in this film, and also that I like you.
Well, I very much appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, each sort of thing is it's a very different space each time. Like that's like a really like astute thing you point out of, uh, Pony Boy, for example, being like a vehicle where you have so much freedom to, it's so heightened in a way, like, and there's a piece of it that almost is like a wink of satire, of like creating these characters who really do exist, and especially in that time, very specifically like this, the clothes, you know what I mean, like the tracksuits, the accents, like
You know that guy.
um we all grew up with that kid, you know what I mean, and especially in that time, right? 2003. but there's like, but it's also grounded in like this guy's like fucking scary too, and kind of manic, and like, and also human. Like he's like dealing with his own like internal shit. Um, and then the Saturday night situation, it's very interesting because you're in a space where you're not like spending these really long days where you're sort of like the focal point, or you have one scene that's the focal point of a day or two. You're kind of coming in with for these quick hits. It's a lot of like a lot of waiting. It's like a lot of waiting around, and then like you get called in and your scenes moved up, and like, oh, you're like shooting this really quick, and you gotta make an impact. Like you're just like, oh, it's like middle relief versus starting. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, all right, if I'm coming in, if I'm coming in the seventh, right, and like I'm getting three outs, before the lefties come up, I'm like, yeah, I gotta hose these guys down, and that's a very interesting version of the process for me. I would because I do think uh, it behooves me to sort of be on set longer. It sort of behooves me to be there with more regularity. It helps me get comfortable. It's definitely a little more difficult for me to find a way to sort of like be innately comfortable for my like hour or two that I'm just there. You know what I mean? And just come in and be so you got to try to like make an impact. And yeah, it's definitely a different approach.
Yeah, but it's such a good tool, and I think over the years you see that because you'll, the elaborate the being a middle reliever is a great analogy for this, or like a featured player in SNL where it's like I got one skit, I better be good in it, otherwise I may not be in a one next week. But I,
Right.
over the years when you see other people on set who've done it for so long, all right, and you kind of I'm
Mm.
watching, and it's not necessarily like I'm in awe, but you are. But like, in the outfit, you see people who are like, oh, you're a master of this craft. Or like even in
Right.
American Assassin, where you are worried, like, okay, wait, the movie's on me. This is a whole other thing. Here's Michael.
Right.
Definitely, this is like this is like, oh, I'm pitching to Mike Piazza, right? I have to treat him like my
Right.
teammate, but also this person's a master at this and has like big
Yeah.
and is like cool about it. How do I
Yeah.
I want to grab some of that while not being like, can I have some of that? Because
Pestering. Yeah. Yeah.
you don't want to put someone in that position. Like we were talking about earlier with you talk to 1,000 people and oh my God, you're my favorite. Like I great, but
Yeah.
I
Right.
also don't necessarily know what to do with that. I'd much
Right.
rather be like, you're cool, you're all right. Like, what are you up to? Like that's just you have
There's
an
yeah. There's not much that's yeah. Where's that conversation gonna lead you?
everyone
Uh.
wants to be treated like a person.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting about all those guys, any one of those experienced actors that like I've had the fortune of getting to sort of watch how they go about it. I feel like the one thing that seems to be consistent with them all is that they're all like just as nervous as they were when they started, and they all express that sort of willingly. Like I mean, J.K. Simmons on this, for example, was like, I mean, one of the funniest introductions I had ever seen because he kind of came in and like very saw us all for a second when we were like at lunch at one point and heading back to set. He kind of just gave us all a wave and just wanted to stood up from where he was sitting and was just like, "Hey, everyone, I just wanted to say like hi really quick to you all, and Jason showed me some footage. You all are just so wonderfully talented, and I'm incredibly nervous stepping into this right now, for my couple of days." And we're all just like,
Have an Oscar. Shut up.
"That's
Yeah.
fucking J.K. saying, yeah, yeah, yeah." So we're just like, wait, this never goes away.
Yeah. It's
If
good and
it, if anything, it's exactly. It's so simultaneously unsettling and also comforting because once you kind of get through that freak out of being like, wait, there's no, there's no solving this. Um, you also are just like, oh, it's so much more reachable. It's so attainable.
yeah.
It's not as far that type of like achievement, of that one performance or that thing, right? Or whatever the hell it is you're chasing, like, which I don't know what the hell it is, fulfillment, satisfaction, which you're never gonna get. Go find another craft, but like, just seeing that they're sort of operating from the same place that you're operating from. There's no like, superpower that they possess. There's not like a thing where they're unfazed. You know what I mean? They feel the exact same way as you do stepping into it, and they utilize the tools that they utilize, and they focus on what they can control and focus on, and they get down and they put their head down and do their work, and they learn, and they do that for years. And at some point, you'll be looking back, and someone's going to be asking you similar questions, and you're going to be expressing the same shit you've always been expressing. You know what I mean? If I'm still doing this when I'm 70, like absolutely, I'm still going to be like my heart's still going to be pounding when we're doing a table, and I'm not going to be wanting to do it. You know what I mean? It just is the thing. It is what it is.
It makes it so clear, like I want to work with people I enjoy. I want a filmmaker who will tell me I'm doing a good job and support me and know like
Yeah.
mistakes and they won't show up, or I, will enjoy the mistakes. Like that's what I think makes this project so cool to everyone, is
Mm.
just a bunch of people who seem to really enjoy the process together. Also,
Yeah.
took it the right amount of seriously, but also are like, it's kind of stupid that it's crazy that we get to do this job. It's dumb. Like it's right. And then Jason, who like didn't have to do this. This isn't like, could have done nothing with his life and been very comfortable and very happy, but like has stories he wants to tell and is willing to do them
I know.
and is
I know.
a supportive filmmaker for actors. Like, Gabe is a great example of like, dude's made essentially two movies and, pretty good starting point. The fact that he seems to have a good, like, all right, I'm jealous, but like at the same time, like this is going to work out for this dude. He's going to be the president of Hollywood one day. And those are the people you want to surround yourself with, people who are like have the big eyes about it still, but also
Yeah.
after the day, he'll be like, okay, what are we doing now? We're gonna go hang out and like have a good time about it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
should be the best job. It really should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the enjoyment of it, the appreciation of it's like super important. And I think like really nice when you're with a group of people who all share that and are also just like, sort of no egos, all are just kind of like, regular people who, again, I mean, you bring up Gabe, it's so funny because, yeah, you just like, I marvel at that kid, I mean, he's 12 years younger than me, and he's so smart and he's so capable, like already at his age. But it's the curiosity, it's the love for it, it's the passion, it's the way he talks about it, the way he talks about our own movie and
Loves
everyone else in it. He like loves it, and it's so infectious. So that's also a really nice piece too when you're on a project where it's like a large group of actors, all from different generations and different chapters of like their own sort of journeys through it. It's nice. It like it kind of brings you back down to where it all started for you. You know what I mean? And yeah, it strips it down. And Jason too, like setting that tone of again just being so like insatiable for just making the thing. He doesn't do the. He didn't make this movie for a paycheck. Like he has such a big heart, and that really fuels him. It really fuels his love for this, and how I'm sure that love evolved for him growing up, through his dad, and yeah, it's all the way he speaks about it, and the weight that he carries with it. It's all very you can it's very clear that it's very sentimental for him, and it's very deep into his chest, like his love for doing this, as a job.
the summer camp vibe that you want. You should all feel like you're like away from the world doing this fun thing, and then when you come home, it's
Oh, it's the best.
except
No,
this time.
it's a ridiculous job.
No, it's amazing. Gabe loved
Yeah.
talking, and and Matt, when I interviewed him, talked about like Gabe was giving him like a pep talk on like day one of the shoot, and he's like, this kid like knows what's up. Like, okay, I like
Right.
we know what we're doing. Like, this is probably gonna work out because everyone thinks we're all amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna happen again. Like, this is pretty.
Yeah.
It and it feels
Yeah.
like I think that's why we responded so well at Telluride. Why like Toronto went over so well. The idea of like
Right.
people came together to make a thing, and that's every movie. But you there were movies that aren't good where people had a good time, and there are movies that are good where people had a bad
Yeah.
time. You can tell when
Yeah.
everyone and you can tell when everyone's having fun. And there's something about this movie where you're fueled a little bit by how good a time everyone's having and how like dedicated they are to like we can make this thing and make it well, and it'll also be
Hmm.
a good time for everyone. And that's just
Yeah.
rare.
And I think that was really important for Jason. Like he specifically, I specifically spoke to him about that during the shoot at one point because I said to him that I noticed, well, that I really appreciated like the intentionality
Yeah.
and sort of like prioritizing the good humans, thing as well as the like, you want to cast the show, but you also want to cast the experience,
Yeah.
uh, and and as soon as I said it, he like hopped right on it. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't." He's like, "That's like a huge priority for me." He's like, "Before I cast any of you specific, like officially, he's like, I make my rounds of calls. Like I dig in. Like I call. He's like, I call people that you don't even. I had conversations you don't even know about, like with people who've worked with you. He's like because, and I think especially for this." He was just like it's I love this way too much for this to turn sour in any type of way. There's going to be so many moving parts, so many different humans around. We can't afford to even have one bad apple. And that was like really, yeah, I think it's really evidently clear when you see the energy that's, that the movie holds and carries with it.
The no asshole rule should be on every set, but like
It's
Jason,
huge. I know. I know.
um, as always, a pleasure. Here's what I'll wrap on for you. Would you rather this movie get an Oscar nomination or the Mets get Juan Soto? No, it's a hard one. I
That's so fucked up.
know. I was gonna say you, but you would sacrifice it for him. But now you have to
Oh,
think of
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, you made it tough by spreading it. That was good. That was a savvy move.
think about it a little bit.
All right, I'll sleep on it.
Yeah. Oh, pleasure,
Um,
my friend. Can't wait to do it
yeah,
again.
yeah,
One day you'll be
yeah.
too for it, and I'll be okay with it. But it's cool.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. Always great talking to you, Joey. Pray for Soto, baby.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. Take care.
I know, I know. All right, you too. See ya.
Love it.